Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to map out the critical path for any medical device manufacturer who wants to do business in Europe. And we're going to do that by breaking down one of the biggest, most important regulations in the industry. So, you've got a medical device and you're ready to launch it in the EU. Well, if that's you, you've got to navigate one of the most comprehensive regulatory frameworks anywhere in the world, the EU's Medical Device Regulation, or MDR. And look, you really got to think of this less like an update and more like a complete teardown and rebuild of the old rules. It's all designed to create a much stronger, more transparent system for everybody. The main goal here? It's pretty simple, really. It's to make sure that every single device is backed up by solid, reliable data. And more than that, it's about making sure patient safety is protected through the entire life of that device, from the very first design sketch all the way to its final day on the market. Okay, let's dive in. We're going to frame this as a manufacturer's journey, and we'll follow this 5-step roadmap. First, understanding the new rulebook, then laying all the groundwork. After that, navigating the path to approval, then what happens during life on the market, and finally, wrapping our heads around the continuous compliance lifecycle. So first things first, what's the fundamental idea driving this entire regulation? What's its core mission? At its very heart, the MDR is all about cranking up the standards for safety and performance. So forget just ticking boxes. This is a huge shift. This new rule demands that every single device is supported by strong, verifiable evidence before it gets anywhere near a patient. All right, on to our second stage, laying the foundation. This is all the essential groundwork you have to get done before you can even dream of getting approval. And honestly, this is where the real heavy lifting begins. So what does this foundation actually look like? Well, Article 10 gives us 4 pillars that are all connected. You've got to start with a risk management system. From there, you do a clinical evaluation, which now includes something called post-market clinical follow-up, or PMCF. All of that gets documented in your technical documentation, and the whole thing is wrapped up in a solid quality management system. The key thing is they all work together. You absolutely can't have one without the others. And this slide really gets to the core of it. A clinical evaluation is not some report you write once and then let it collect dust on a shelf. No way. You have to think of it like a living, breathing document. You are always gathering and assessing data to prove your device is safe and performs as it should for its entire life on the market. Okay, with that solid foundation in place, let's get practical. How do you actually get your device approved for sale? To make this real, let's imagine a case study. Let's say we've developed a brand new, high-risk implantable heart valve. What's our path to getting that all-important CE mark? Well, the path you take depends completely on your device's risk class. So, a Class 1 tongue depressor? That's a pretty simple path. But our fictional heart valve? That's a Class 3 device, no question. And that puts it under the most intense, stringent level of scrutiny. The bottom line is, the higher the risk, the deeper the dive regulators are going to take into your work. And for pretty much everything except the lowest risk devices, you are going to need one of these, a notified body. The best way to think of them is as an independent third-party auditor. They are the official gatekeepers who have to verify that you've met every single one of the MDR's demanding requirements before your product can see the light of day. So for our heart valve, the notified body is going to do a very, very deep dive. They're going to audit our quality system on site. They will scrutinize every single page of our technical file. They'll challenge our clinical data. It's an incredibly intense process, and it's only after we pass this whole assessment that they'll grant us the certificate we need to apply that CE mark. And this right here, this is the prize. The CE mark is basically your passport, your license to operate. It's the final visible proof that your device has passed the test and can now be legally sold anywhere in the European Union. It really is the culmination of that entire approval journey. But listen, getting that CE mark is not the finish line, not even close. In a lot of ways, it's actually just the starting gun for the next phase. So now let's look at our second case study, maintaining compliance. What does life on the market actually look like for our newly approved heart valve? The most important word on this slide is proactively. As the manufacturer of our heart valve, we can't just sit back and wait for complaints to roll in. We are legally required to have a system in place that actively goes out and monitors how our device is performing in the real world. So what does that mean? It means we need a systematic process for gathering feedback from surgeons. It means watching for data trends. And most importantly, it means continuously feeding all that real-world data back into our risk management files and our clinical evaluation. And of course, you absolutely have to report any serious issues that come up. So let's say a cardiologist reports that our heart valve showed some unexpected wear after just 6 months in a patient. Well, that falls squarely under this definition. The key thing to notice here is that it covers not just what did lead to harm, but what might have led to harm. It's a very cautious, very proactive approach to safety. And this part is completely non-negotiable. If we get that report about our valve, we are legally mandated to report it to the authorities, and we have to do it within very strict timelines. Under the MDR, transparency and speed aren't just good ideas, they're the law. So all of this, the work you do before you get to market and the surveillance you do after, it all brings us to the final and I think most important takeaway from the entire MDR journey. This right here is the new reality. From that initial design and risk assessment, all the way through years and years of post-market surveillance and reporting, a manufacturer's responsibility never really ends. The data you're collecting from the market has to constantly feed back into and update all of those foundational documents we talked about. It's a cycle. This quote from the regulation itself just perfectly sums up the whole philosophy. Compliance is not some static state you achieve one time. It's a living, breathing part of a manufacturer's daily operations, woven right into the fabric of the company. So as you get ready to enter the EU market, the real question isn't just about whether you can get approval. It's about whether you're prepared to maintain that high standard of safety and quality for years and years to come. Is your company built for the sprint to get the CE mark, or is it built for the marathon of lifelong compliance?